So I'm getting ready to get on the meetup with OSG Dennis, but for some reason my internet is bootleg right now. I don't know what's going on. But look, I'm getting it live. It's working. So want to say what's up to everybody. Hopefully everybody's staying positive, staying logical. Doing what's right for people you love and shit like that. Planning on coming out of this thing stronger. It's only a couple of months left. It seems like. It's always the darkest before the dawn. I don't mean to sound like Batman, but the issues of today as it relates to education for me is just like they're trying to reopen schools, and I don't see how you could safely do that. You know what I mean? Dennis was bringing to my attention, schools right now got like 20 people in them, and they still catching it. So it don't matter how much money is given. You're gonna probably have to reimagine the way you approach school. Right now, we're on now. You have to look it up.
Well, don't go nowhere, Anthony. Don't go nowhere because what's really funny, and I'm sorry because you said something really important. So today we wanted to talk a little bit of turn off for our students and during this time, and how important it is for us to address that, because we know that nobody's gonna make any apologies to our kids or to our families when they start getting tested again, and then when life starts, getting back to some form of normalcy. So I think today's topic, I think what you just said was so powerful that I think it kind of leads into the conversation that I wanted to have with us today, just about what are we doing about that learning loss. And because I got the opportunity to spend time with so many of the principals in the room as their consultant, as their coach, as their mentor, as their friend, one thing I know for certain is that many of the principals in this room haven't forgotten the importance of instruction, haven't forgotten the importance of social emotional learning. We haven't forgotten about those things, but we know that there's some challenges involved in it. And so while you are standing up right now, I just wanted to kind of maybe ask you really quick about some of the ideas that you might have as to what you guys are doing down in the land, down in the egg, about what's going on with learning loss and things like that, and how do we minimize that across this country?
Well, what I would say is what I'm doing in my nonprofit for my brownie babies, because I'm like somebody else. My babies, when they call me, honey, I'm still there. I got kids in my program that's been in my program since they was in elementary and they in college, and I'm still right there as the mama. So what I'm doing is I tasked my nonprofit advisory board to go out so that we could be able to have virtual instruction for our kids and in-person instruction for our kids. And so I actually challenged my corporate sponsors to be able to come in and be able to give back. So now I got my team now going out to put the budget together, what we're going to need to be doing and all of that. So no matter where the child lives at, whether they're in Atlanta or somewhere else globally, we're even looking at international, that we can come in and to be able to have educators like you, because I told them we ain't doing nothing for free, okay? Our freebies is over with. So
you better say that, honey. That's right. Is it possible that you can share the information in the chat? Definitely about the foundation, anything that, we as a coalition can do to support. But then you also mentioned, quickly as during the Sister Queen Spotlight, but, I was drawn to you. Just the spirit led me to you. And then I read your name. I said, I know that name, right? I said, please don't tell me that's the woman that took the pen off the edge. There's you. So you said that you were doing something to support women, and it's going to be next Tuesday. Can you discuss that a little bit?
So what I do is I do a Living on Purpose program. It is a 12-week program that I come in and put women back in the driver's seat. I only take 10 women. I call them W10s. So when you all are here on the ground trying to figure it out, I have educators in there and all of that. I only got, I think, about 4 slots left. And so what we do is I come back and support you and all of that. So what we do is normally 1,197 dollars. What I'm doing now is giving everybody a $1,500 actual discount on it. So it's only $497. And so what I'm able to do with that is just come back and support women. So you'll get an actual one-on-one coaching session with me. You have a room with powerful women just like this. Your business ain't going to be on CNN. So you can be able to say, it's just an actual place to be able to have a safe place. What I found out, and they're saying in statistics now, is that women are turning to alcohol and leaving their jobs. And the devil is a lie. I'm sorry. He a lie. So I'm like, how can I come back and support my women during this time and be able to have my women on the move for success as long as also my...
Ma'am, let me tell you what you're talking about. You were talking about the Lion's Den, my love. So I can also put, or if somebody can help me put one of the links, or perhaps maybe to the most recent link or the most recent episode of the Lion's Den. So I yield to the expertise of also my boo and colleague, sister, Dr. Anissa Riley, who's also known as Dr. Action, because she too has an epic show that's Ask Dr. Riley show, and she absolutely will be sharing all links. But the premise of the Lion's Den is celebrating and cultivating Black womanhood. And so my guests are just that, they're women. So that can be within our celebration and cultivation. That can be our families. It can be our allies. It can be culture, fashion, mental health, physical health, anything we deem. It's everything, depending on what part of the country. If you're from everything, from down south, it's everything. If you're from the Midwest, it's everything. But it's everything to do with celebrating and cultivating Black womanhood. So we normally are in tandem as far as where we travel to, myself and Dr. Action, as well as our guests to whom, we invite. And we both would be honored, whether it's a co-host time for the show or if it's my platform or her platform. What you are describing is so powerful for women, for all of us. And so we would love to continue to have this conversation during that time. And, the only man that's allowed on my show is the infamous, how do you say it? World's most famous, always dangerous MOP from my uncle,
I mean,
Mr. Prince Elliott, also known as Lays Elliott.
I mean,
yeah. So, oh my goodness, that's so awesome. And, I don't know if we have to go, but we're definitely gonna, put that information in the chat. But I am so honored that you have joined us. How'd you hear about us?
It was actually one night I got on Clubhouse. And what's the lady name? Oh, here we go.
Anisha Jacko.
Anisha Jacko.
Wow, that Clubhouse boy.
Hi, Antoinette. Good seeing you. I'm looking for a face from the back. And I hadn't been on that since then, but she invited me to it, so it's great to see you again.
So can I just say something? So a lot of us in here have a relationship with God, and I am one of those individuals that has a relationship. And when you began speaking, Miss Antoinette, about, well, first let me go back. When the story went national, I knew that was a God moment, right? And so now you identifying yourself now as to who you are is another God moment. And so I just want to decree and declare on you the Holy Spirit's presence and power to continue to empower you and give you discernment and give you wisdom, because the life that you saved that day and your own or for a purpose. There was a plan that the enemy had to take out destinies, but because walk in your purpose, there are more destinies that you are commissioned and are supposed to touch. So I just want to put that out there and speak it into your life and know that all that you're doing is not in vain. He hears your tears. He sees your cries. And I bind up anything that the enemy has planned for you, because he was mad. He was mad because he didn't win that day. But we take that field by force. We take that ground by force. The gates of hell cannot prevail. And I know this is not that, Dennis, but I just had to say that to make sure that you understand that there's a blessing on your life. And I just want to say, I praise God for you. Thank you. And it's decreed in the name of Jesus.
No, and you know what, Dr. Riley, I mean, listen, this to me, it's not about the appropriateness at all. You know, the reality of it is everybody in this room, and I think Antoinette would agree, you know, you all as school leaders put your lives on the line every single day. whether it was going into the building or whether it's now virtual. Some of you still can't stay out of the building. In the past couple of days, I've had at least 3 or 4 principals that I know really, really well that have had 5, 4, 3, kids in their building have tested positive for COVID. And any of these same principals have been in their building during those times. And so when we talk about covering and when we talk about prayer and we talk about making sure that everybody understands that, you don't need to be walking in there, uncovered or going in there without prayer. I think it's very important to know that what you said, Dr. Riley, was important. There's no shame. There's no shame here. There's no need to apologize about that. But, every single day I think about the people who sacrifice every day going to those buildings. I think it's very important that we recognize that they are true heroes. And I think, Antoinette, if you let me know if you agree on that you don't feel that you're the only hero here. You was a hero that day, but every day that you walk in, that you talk to educators, other school leaders, know that they also too are superheroes without capes.
That's exactly why I'm here, because baby, it takes a village, okay? So I appreciate them words, and that's why I'm here, because I pray for y'all every morning at 5:45. It ain't no.
I'm like, come on, Jesus, yes.
Yeah, because we in this together. We the ones on that front line.
Come on, sister. Absolutely.
Come on, Jesus.
Absolutely. And I think, guys, listen, it's weird when you think about every time before I walk onto this Zoom at 4 o'clock on Thursday, I always take the time to pray and really allow for my tongue to be bridled so that the things that come forth out of my mouth are things that every one of us needs to hear about and what we need to do collectively. And, just the other day, I'm thinking about just the importance of the learning loss of our young people and why that conversation needs to be had. And none of us are here to make any excuses for why the learning loss exists. We're here to come up with solutions. We're here to talk about it. We're here to set the expectation as to what learning loss actually looks like and exactly how we actually combat it. Because our young people are the ones who are going to feel it the most. And whatever you all believe by way of the reasons for it, the learning loss was there before, the learning, the learning gap, the achievement gap was there before COVID-19. So we understand that it was already there. Now, when you think about, if you just put it into 3 different categories, right? Just the folks who have, quality instruction, remote instruction, they're still going to lose anywhere between 3 to 4 months of instruction. You talk about people who have, low quality. They're going to lose about 7 to 11 months of instruction. But those kids who don't go to school, literally, they can lose a whole year and a half worth of instruction. And as somebody who understands that leadership is everything when it comes to making those changes, I wanted us today to begin to have that discussion about some of the things that we're doing in our schools to address this learning gap that exists. And then in a few minutes also too, well, you know what? A friend actually, we spoke the other day. She came on, we spoke on a Zoom. Her name is Asia Whitehead, and I guess I'm just going to be obedient. Her husband, Bishop Whitehead, is also here with us, and I think it's a unique situation how he got here today. And we asked if he could join us from the other day, and it's funny how, Bishop, how you came on today and you noticed that there's been this conversation about, the believers. And again, I'm not here to push any religion on anybody, but I think it's not strange or coincidental that you were invited to come on today to have, to join us in conversation about what your children and your family are experiencing by way of remote learning and things like that. But I also know that you're trying to do some big things in New York as well. So, without any further ado, brother, I'm gonna let this work the way it's supposed to work right now. We're gonna get back to it, but I think it's very safe to say that it's not coincidental that you're here. And I want you to kind of introduce yourself a little bit to the people who may not know you. And then also too, maybe you can help us with this discussion about what we're going to do about learning loss, because I think it's safe to say that even in the church, even in the mosques, that there are going to be some form of learning loss. So I want to turn it over to you, Bishop Whitehead. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. Man, it's a privilege and an honor to even be on you guys' platform. I want to thank my wife and Dame Dash and Dr. Riley for giving me the opportunity to be on this platform. My name is Bishop Lamar Miller Whitehead, and I'm a pastor and bishop of two churches. I have a church in Brooklyn, New York, and I also have a church in Atlanta, Georgia. And God has been amazing to me, and just to hear your stories and just to see how the Holy Spirit started to fill the room. I sat back and I just was like, wow, this went left, like wow, because God always knows how to set and establish an atmosphere. A little bit about me. I'm actually running to be the next Brooklyn Borough president of Brooklyn, and I will be the youngest borough president ever. Brooklyn, if Brooklyn was a city, we will be the fourth largest city in the United States of America. Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, in that order, the only three cities that are bigger than Brooklyn. I had a rough life growing up, and when I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, where my father, Arthur Miller, was beat and strangled to death by 16 white police officers because of the color of his skin. They choked him to death, the 77th precinct, on June 14th, 1978. So I had to grow up with the endeavors of not even understanding my father, not understanding the other 50% of my DNA, and my mom and my grandmother and my older sister raised me. Then as I moved forward, I got into basketball. I was one of the leading scorers in New York City. I got into modeling, acting, and I went to school. When I came to New York, I started my own mortgage firm, real estate firm. I've been doing real estate for over 20 years. And then I was approached by the police department to tell on some friends that I knew. Since I did not want to cooperate with the police department, they railroaded me and sent me away to prison for 11 of the 34 years. But by the grace of God, I was able to write my own motion and be released from prison. And then when I came home, I got ordained as a pastor and a bishop, and I opened up now 2 churches. And now I'm moving forward to the office of the borough president. So the theme of this story is from the prison to the pulpit to the office of the borough president of over 2.6 million people. And when I look at all of the educators here, and I've been doing the research and just throughout my life in Brooklyn and looking at how the school system is, it's just been a makeup to fail. And we have, the reason why I've gotten out of the pulpit into politics is not because I'm a politician, but because I'm a leader. And we need leaders to pour money into our community, into our schooling. One of the biggest pandemics in our culture, and I look to say COVID-19 has already been here. It just wasn't named COVID-19. And it was to destroy our school system. One of the big Achilles heels of our school system is poverty, right? Our children are coming to school with already pressures that they haven't been eating, that their parents, they either have a single parent in Brooklyn or in our school system. Only a mother, maybe a father. In Brooklyn, 8 out of 10 homes, the fathers are in prison. The mothers are raising the children. So they're coming to school with that attitude. And I look, since this have turned, you guys opened the door for a religious impartation in this. And Psalms 91, it says that God gave angels charge over us so that our foot will not dash against a stone. So when I look at the educators, you guys resemble Psalms 91 because you protect our children. You protect our generation. Without you, there will be no generation. You guys protect. You guys serve our babies. You take your time and you're responsible for uplifting our children. So how would I be the best president? By pouring in money into our school system. Now, the Brooklyn Board president that is in office right now, Eric L. Adams, he's actually my mentor. And I've been with him the 8 years through his endeavors of the challenges and just the school system and all the things that he has done. And I understand that he put in over $140 million into the school system throughout the years of his presidency. And I see how things were moving. And Eric has opened the door for me, but I have my own shoes to fill. And at the end of the day, what I want to do for the school system is first personalize it. Every principal should have my phone number. You guys know what's going on inside of your school. You guys know what you need. And at the end of the day, what I've seen politicians do is use the backs of the oppressed school system to fabricate and make the world believe that they're going to help you. And they give you guys the bare minimum to barely survive. So therefore you can keep coming back to them over and over again. I've been in the music industry, the entertainment world for a long time. And I've created initiatives. I created a justice initiative, which I have established a relationship with the district attorney of Brooklyn, where our children need to go into the DA's office to understand how the district attorney's office operates. I also created a justice initiative with judges so the children can sit with the judges to understand what it is to be a judge from A to Z. I also established a NYPD, a police initiative, because in our low income housing, in the minority areas, we are taught and we are learned to understand police in back of the police car. And now we got handcuffs on and we don't know how to take what's going on. Now, I was illegally convicted. I understand what they did. They railroaded me. They hid evidence. I understood how the police did it for an elevation. I understand how the district attorneys did it for an elevation. Everybody got a promotion on my dime. I had to spend time in prison illegally. So our children, I established an initiative, and this is just me being the bishop, not a politician. I've been doing this for 8 years, creating initiatives to pull children out of society so therefore they can understand the world. When 106 in Park was still being played on BET, I created a 106 in Park initiative. I brought thousands of children from Brooklyn on buses because of my connection with the NYPD. I had them bring charter buses to pick up children from Brownsville, from East New York, from Bed-Stuy, to bring them to 106 in Park. So therefore, they can meet and greet the celebrities. They can have some type of fun. I brought celebrities to school because I have relationships with them. I actually helped them get out of prison when they get in trouble because I'm relationships. So what I'm doing is I also created a hospital initiative. This hospital initiative is to show children if you want to be an ophthalmologist, radiologist, gynecologist. So I set up a system with different schools, and periodically it will rotate. Therefore, if a child even wanted to be that, they can see what it looks like. I still like to say I want to do things different, and I know that other politicians and other leaders will follow because of the weight that Brooklyn holds. But what I want to do is, I'm going to have hundreds of millions of dollars of discretionary funds and capital funding. I'm going to have that to give to principals. But I've been speaking to principals throughout Brooklyn, and they said, Bishop, why does one school get this much money and the other school don't get this money? What I'm doing, because of my relationships, I'm going to start a fund, a nonprofit fund for Brooklyn. And I know a lot of philanthropists that will donate millions and millions of dollars into this fund. It's a tax write-off. They want to be...
Well, Bishop, hold on a second, Bishop. Here's what you're going to need to do, though, right? Because we got people from outside of Brooklyn here, too. You're going to have to help here, too. You ain't going to just... We got Queens.
Sorry, don't be upset because he's talking about Brooklyn. Do not cut off the Brooklyn station. Bishop.
I just want to say, Bishop.
You said the fan of the Brooklyn that is.
Oh, hold on. Bronx is in the house.
First of all, I want to thank the young king for coming on and doing this. The story about your father was well known. I was in Brownsville in the 70s when that happened. Also, I want to shout out to the Dos Reeves family and your wife, who's like my daughter. And I'm so sorry I was not at the wedding because this is literally like, this is my child. This is my child. And she knows how much I love her.
How she like your child and she like my child? And I know no longer.
Well,
It's just so many fathers.
I don't understand. I don't know. How did you, you're like an uncle. I'm more like the dad. Don't be don't do that.
It never changes. It's like two grumpy old men. It never changes. It just
one grumpy old man, and it's not me.
So hold on, y'all. What's going on, Asia? How you doing?
Hey, Dr. McKenzie, how are you?
I'm fantastic.
Hey, Dr. Raleigh, how are you?
Hey, Asia, how are you?
Good.
Well, pull up a chair, Asia. Because
you're a part of this family. yeah.
What I want Bishop to understand is, in this room we have no shortage of representation from across this country, right here in this room. And we got New York, we got New Jersey, we got South Carolina, we got Wisconsin, we got Tennessee, we got other places here in our midst. And I think what we are about here is about taking these initiatives and not only helping Brooklyn, not only helping New York City, but being able to help the country and bringing forth the reform that's needed. You know what I'm saying? And so when we talk about some of the things that you mentioned by what's needed, these are all things that I think we can attach to ways that we can address the learning loss, right? All the stuff that you're talking about is about how we're going to continue to educate young people. But it's a slightly different way of doing it now. It's a slightly different way of doing it now, Bishop, because unfortunately you may not be able to walk up in the schools like you used to. You might not be able to walk up in the hospitals like you used to. But it's really important that we begin to have the conversation about how you can be instrumental in helping us to get the message out there, to the Eric Adams, to the David Banks, and to the Kamala Harris and to Joe Biden and stuff like that. So we definitely expect you to be able to bring something to the table to help us to do that.
So that is so major, and that's the point that I'm making. That Brooklyn, we are called the baby UN. Brooklyn is spread with all races, all cultures, right? And what I've learned is the reason why we, as a people that's trying to pull our people up, we haven't had a foundation. And Brooklyn is going to be the foundation now. I travel and I'm here. I'm ready to help everybody. But at the end of the day, right, when you can sit there and say, Bishop, I got a problem in Michigan. Bishop, I got a problem in LA. I say, okay, cool. Well, the whole Brooklyn is coming. If you guys are having an issue in your town, in your area, you have to understand that 2.6 million people is going to be behind you because you got the president there. And we're going to show that these things work. This system works. And there's no reason or way that they can block what works. Now, another thing that I want to say, right? this fund that I'm going to bring in and draw into Brooklyn, right? This is a fund where we're going to help other states. This is not just going to be for Brooklyn. We're going to help other boroughs. One of the things that I've learned in Brooklyn and for my sisters and brothers in the neighboring boroughs in Bronx, Manhattan, Queens, Staten Island, did I miss one? Bronx, Queens, Manhattan, Staten Island. Okay, I missed none. Right? I want to let you guys know that all of the former presidents, we're going to be affiliated. We're going to be tight. We're going to move as a unit, right? And this foundation, the dream that God has given me, is not just for Brooklyn, right? This is just a platform. So I created something called the Nation of Champions. Now, one of the things that our community lost, and where I believe Brooklyn lost, and just our world, is the Obama and Michelle effect. Brooklyn is going to have their first family. Two young people that love one another, that I can hold my right hand, and we can come to the schools, and we can show them. And there's no scandal about the man. Why does it always have to be a scandal about the man? I'm not cheating on my wife. I'm not beating on my wife. I'm not doing these things. And at the end of the day, I believe if the children was to see love, then they would want to be inspired by love. So with the first family, this is the first time Brooklyn is going to have a first family, right? The love story, the story where I was illegally incarcerated, the story where they pronounced my wife was going to die because of Guillain Barré. The love story, the story, people have to fall in love with the story and understand the results of the story. We didn't give up, right? And we're not supposed to give up. So therefore, in our school system, our children can't give up. I see so many staggering statistics as far as the failing of the schools in Brooklyn and the failings in the schools in New York and around the world. And it's more targeted to our Black and brown young men and women. What do? Right? We have to set the mark. So with me implementing these initiatives and this fund, right, it is for our people. I'm not trying to be a politician. I'm going to be political, but I'm not shaking hands under the table. You want to know why? Because my life depends on it. My bloodline depends on it, right? This is a matter of life or death, right? And now we have to understand that we can't play with this, right? Our school system needs to be funded. That's it. In all aspects, in all states, with no equivocation. The young lady that talked about, she stopped the young man that was about to shoot up everybody. That was a move of God. She's up here testifying, and at the end of the day, we have to come together with one voice, one purpose. No, how do young people say, no capping. All right, no capping, right? Y'all gotta stay up to date. I try to stay up to date. My daughter, I said, what's the new words? No capping, no capping, And at the end of the day, we gotta be one with our children, and they have to be able to come to us and respect us. But the one thing we've been missing is having a truthful leader. These politicians been lying so much, and they just been selling us out so much. They are the coronavirus, if you want to be technical.
Hey, Bishop.
Can
I ask you a question? So, from what I'm hearing, it's sort of like, how, I might know a senator locally and he'll say, I can get a law passed. If it does well, federally, it will get picked up. So by using Brooklyn as an example of the right way to spend the money, sharing all that information with the other borough presidents, that template can be implemented other places because it works. I get that. So let me ask you a question. So like for me, and I'm not a principal, but I do spend a lot of time with the principals, have compassion for their struggle and understand that they want to sometimes, or at least right now, there needs to be a reapproach in education. It will never be the same way it will. And, what Dennis has been saying is it ain't no money that's going to make it safe to go back to school right now. Kids are catching COVID when there's only 20 people in the classroom. So how can we reapproach education? And if we come up with some sort of a template, or if they come up with a template, is there a way that Brooklyn can be the experiment and showcase that this works and what it is? Because I know from the outside looking, I was like, well, I'd like to get some money to maybe build a place that teaches you about things you need now currently, like how to shoot movies and how to be an entrepreneur and having gardens and all these other things like what Ak is doing. Collectively, could they show you all the innovative things that are happening and that could be implemented in Brooklyn? Just asking,
Yes, yeah. Brooklyn can do the prototype, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. Because when I started off this conversation, I stated that Brooklyn, if it was a city, it would be the 4th largest city in the United States.
Right.
The only cities that are before LA, Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York. What better place? What better place? The mayoral race is so many people running to be the mayor, right? At the end of the day, the most important piece that people are missing is Brooklyn. And we can prototype different things. And to answer your question also, Dane, is yes, it's going to be different going back into school. A lot of parents are not going to want to send their children to school. But the staggering statistics is this. Do y'all know that there are still children in Black and brown areas that still do not have computers? Right? How is everybody going virtual? Absolutely. How is everybody going virtual? And we have politicians in position, and Black and brown kids can't go virtual. So do they automatically fail? Right? So at the end of the day, Brooklyn, with me being the borough president, can be the prototype. We can implement these ideas because now we have a foundation. We're not a city council. We're not a assembly. We're not a senator. We have the president of Brooklyn, right? Which is the president of over 2.6 million people. It's an army. So at the end of the day, once we show that it is proven in Brooklyn, the world has to follow. It has to follow. We're number 4 in the United States. So they have to follow. And at the end of the day, I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to also say that because you have all this collective of principles from all over the place, when you want to get something done, even though you could do what you want, you already have the seal of approval. Like, I just talked to 90 principals and they said this is the best way to do it. Because I think they're also a great source of information to implement and validation because it's from principals from everywhere. So it also has a foundation of support based on the people that are giving the information.
Oh, dang, this is what I...
And Bishop, can I just jump in real quick? Because I think you said something important. But just know, the reason for this platform is to let you understand is that even with those deficiencies, even without having the computer, these principals are still looking for ways and still trying to find ways to make it work for their kids anyway. And I think I want to make sure that this platform remains about highlighting the fact that there are principals on here that are doing things out of their own pocket, that are begging, borrowing, and even at times, sometimes stealing ways to make sure that our kids have those resources. So I don't want anybody to ever think that we just complain about not having money and then not do what we got to do for our kids regardless. If we get the money, great, Bishop. We would love you for it, right? But if not, the bottom line is that these people for years have been finding ways to be resourceful for their kids to get what they got to get. Last week, we talked about finding a way for money to go directly into the schools. Like, let's stop all of this, this zigzag as to how kids get, schools get funded. It's a simple thing, Bishop. Let me just say this. If I got a school in Brownsville that needs 30 computers, that shouldn't be that complicated to get. I should be able to come to Bishop, like a Bishop. I know you got some connects in corporate world. Can you hook me up with that? You know what I'm saying? You got people in Tennessee. I just read an article the other day. You got people in Tennessee that are getting corporations together and getting universities together to get out there and actually provide tutoring for kids who are falling behind. That's being innovative. That's the type of stuff that we're talking about here in the OSG. It's like, we don't want anybody to feel sorry for anything that we're doing. We just simply say, give us what you say you're going to give us. But even if you don't, we still gonna be out here doing what we gotta do. So I just want to make that real clear that everything that you're saying is exactly what we've been talking about for the past week. And I want us to know, like, I need these people to walk away knowing, like, they got somebody that they can turn to and say, listen, Bishop, my school, 20 of my kids in hotspot. Can you help me out here? And even if I'm not telling you to go dig in your pocket, I'm just saying, point us in the right direction.
So that's amazing, right? Let me
Let me know when you're ready.
because this is going to touch on to everything that you're saying. The first thing that I'm going to do when I become the next Brooklyn Borough president, or when I become the borough president, you see how we have 90 plus principals on, right? I'm going to have a meeting. We need to collectively create a multifaceted initiative for all of our schools at large, right? And we can take this to the White House because I'm going to have the key to it. And we can say, listen, Mr. President, this is what we're going to implement, right? And we're going to start it in Brooklyn. If this works, you have to sign off on the budget for every state in the United States, right? Now that's power, okay? That's power. Another thing you stated about how the principals came out of pocket for things in the school. There should be a reimbursement system to give back to principals and teachers that came out of their pocket, right? One of the initiatives that I want to create, and this goes for globally, this goes for all of our states, this is globally. I wanted to implement something that I created. It's an initiative called Adopt a Grandparent, right? And I took it from this initiative. So this initiative that I have is that I created as a bishop that I'll have, because there was such a disconnect from young people and our elders. So I said, how do I get young people and elders and elder people get closer to our younger people? So I said, this Adopt a Grandparent is young children adopt a grandparent, which you go to their house or go to their senior citizen location, and you help them for an hour or two to get to know them and to get to conversate, right? So with that theme and with that theory, I came up with something called Adopt a School, right? I know a lot of different people with money and celebrities and things of that nature. I want to put together a coalition of people that have money, that want to do business in Brooklyn. There's so many people that want to plant stores and plant any type of networks in Brooklyn because we are the largest borough. So if you want to do this, and if you want to be a business or a businessman or a businesswoman in Brooklyn, you have to play your part. So therefore, I'm going to find people that are wealthy to adopt schools, and therefore they have to give, and that's what you were talking about. Why do you always got to go the loop-de-loop, the down, and this pass and that pass, and then you get the money, and it's all broken down? So this is another direct hit from one person to another. And with the Brooklyn Borough president, it's going to be a direct hit as well. Now, I'm going to have government money or budget that I have, period, hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So certain things that get signed off, yeah, that's formality. I got to do that, but that's going to be extra. The funds, if I sign off from this nonprofit, is going to go to the school, period, point blank. There should not be no children that don't have hotspots. There should not be no children that don't have sneakers. There should not be no children that can't afford lunch. There should not be no children that... We have too much power. And at the end of the day, politicians and politics, they allow you to eat the bare minimum so you can vote for them to go higher. I'm not trying to step on the backs of the oppressed. God told me to be the president of Brooklyn. My desires for anything else is up to God. I need to do what God says to do right now. And we need help. We need a leader, not a politician.
Well, Bishop, one of the things that, when I developed this coalition, which is now a non-for-profit, which is also 501c3, like all of the above, I did it for this reason, right? Because we weren't going to be a bunch of people who talk about what it is that the needs are and not do something about it. We are right now looking and pursuing grants from all across the country to try to do just what you mentioned. And I think it's very important that, in your conversation, see, it's funny when I look at you and I talk to you, and I've known your wife for years, because of the school that your children used to attend, that I used to go in and support the principal there. The one thing that's for certain is I know how genuine she is about doing what's right for young people. And I know obviously because you two are that connected that you feel the same way. Just wanted to make it real clear that I know for a fact that if we weren't talking about you going for Brooklyn Borough president, that it's probably, most likely you'll still have the same conversation with me now than you would back then. So I think it's important that, one of the things I want to make clear is, as far as why you're here and things like that, we just happened the other day just being on a call. Asian came up in the conversation and was like, all right, just tell you to come on. And it wasn't even about Brooklyn Borough president. Like it really wasn't. We didn't even touch base on that. We just really wanted you to come through because I think what we are trying to do is to continue to grow this coalition of influential people to actually help the overall cause, which is we want our young people to have a future. We want them to we want schools to be funded properly. We want principals to be taken care of as well. And I think that's why, I brought you on and things like that.
Well, Dennis, real quick. It was important. He had initially called me about being, supporting. And I said, you have to talk to OSG first because I need to know that he's the real deal. And, it was funny. The person that he was saying was his mentor was on that, on last week or the week before. And I just felt it was important to get that validation out. My question is this. If we know that if he's in there, he's going to give phone numbers. He becomes the plug. He's giving a lot of, he's saying he's going to do a lot. How, if he's going to do these things, can we help get him there? That's my question. And that's because that's part of the power of OSG, I think.
Absolutely. And Bishop, and I'll say this on behalf of OSG. Like, every one of us here don't live in Brooklyn. Everyone here don't live in New York City. And the bottom line is that, in terms of people who's here who's able to vote or, anything like that, that's why I want to make sure that people understand is that you're not here campaigning for that because you got to assume that most people here may not be from New York City. And I just want you to know that every time you come here, that we're about solving a problem, right? We want to know, Bishop, I need to know where I get these hotspots from. I got a school in Brownsville right now that there are kids who don't have computers. And I need to be able to call Bishop and say, Bishop, not Bishop the politician. That happened. So that's why I want to make it very, very clear that you didn't approach me about coming on here to campaign. You didn't approach me for that at all. I'm glad you mentioned the things that you mentioned, but it's in alignment with what we have been talking about the past week, which is how do we get direct funding into the school? How do we make sure that the stuff that we want for our kids happen? And that's really what this is about. And when we talk about what the whole objective of today's meeting was supposed to be about, which was about learning loss and why it's happening because people are playing games with kids. It's happening because people are saying they're going to do stuff and aren't doing things. And so when I think about the people that are in this room,
Dennis, can I politely interject?
Hold on a second, ladies. Hold on a second, ladies. But what I want people to understand real quick is that that's why, I mentioned in the email to people when we were getting together that I want this to be a 2-part series. That we can't obviously address the entire issue of learning loss in one sitting, but I do want it to be made known is that no matter what we're talking about here, I'm going to always circle back to how in the world are we going to get our young people an opportunity to succeed in a world that already has them as a permanent underclass? What are we going to do by way of connecting the dots with you and Pastor Cologne and Antoinette and different people from all across the country to make sure that this agenda gets met with a level of force and passion that we have as OSG? Go ahead, Lace.
Well, I just want to take a second because when Asia's father, Keith, told me she was getting married, I remember she was in the hospital. I was in Europe traveling and my heart was going out to his family. And I was talking to her father and he was telling me about her new husband that she was going to marry, Bishop Whitehead. And I said, well, tell me about him. So I started following him and watching what he was doing. And I just want to let everybody in the room know that everything that he talked about today is consistent and in alignment with who he's always been from the time that I started watching him. So I just want to give him a salute. And I'm proud of you, young man. I think this is an awesome thing that you're doing. And I feel as if that we should wrap our arms around the young brother and make sure that he gets our support. And you have mine. Understand me. And, it may not go as far as some people, but it goes a long way when you have my support. So salute to you and welcome to the family.
And for me as well.
Can I say something?
I can get the phone call right after this if he wasn't.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.
Can I just say something? So
But Dr. Riley, hold on. Hey Bishop, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to make sure out of your own mouth that people know why you're here and that you weren't invited here on to campaign for anything.
Right. So
all right, I need you to say that.
Yes. That is accurate. My wife, I was sitting here at the computer. I don't know. I think I was on another Zoom, and my wife came in here and she said, "Babe, I want you to come up here to talk about." They told me about the school system, and you will be a very important person to get on. And then Dane got on and said, "Yeah, maybe we can talk to the principals about schooling and different things of that nature." So it had nothing to do with me, a platform as far as me running for the Brooklyn Borough presidency. I am a bishop, and I think Dane was saying what he said because I'm a man of integrity. I didn't even know if he was following me. This is the first time I'm meeting him, and my thing is all we have is our word, right? That's it. And with the culture that follows me, I mentor Fabio, Foreign, I mentor a lot of the different big name rappers that's out there. They call me at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. My wife can tell you, time I got to get out of my bed at 3 o'clock in the morning because someone or a celebrity needs me to come to their house or come to their come to their hotels because of the simple fact of some trauma experiences that they're going through. At the end of the day, I can't tell them not to
That's true.
Yeah, I can't tell them not to be on drugs or not to cheat on their wives if they see me doing what I'm telling them not to do. So I have to be a man of integrity across all lines. And I tell people what I can't say 5 times, I won't say once. I am a straight shooter, period, point blank. And if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I don't have time to play no games. It's either you're going to like me or not. That's your problem. That's not my problem. I can't get in the way in between, right? I'm going to give you my best foot forward, but everybody's not going to like me. Everybody's not going to love me, right? But then as you get to learn who I am, maybe you'll get to love me in your own time, So I just want to say this, y'all, because Dane had a question that wasn't answered. He said, what do we need to do to get me where I need to be? Well, the disconnect from our community into getting the right person into office is this. We do not donate and we don't vote. What we like to do is see who's winning and jump on the bandwagon. And the other competitors that are campaigning to become the next Brooklyn Borough president, if you really look hard, you will see that they are politicians. You will see what they've been doing. And why do you think that something's going to change if you don't change? That's insanity, right? And we have to understand, in order for change, we have to change. And we're raising money. The reason why we just started raising money, and we raised a substantial amount of money in the last week or so. But the reason why we are quote unquote behind in money is because the other candidates been raising money for 3 years. I just started raising money a week and a half ago, and we've raised thousands, tens of thousands of dollars already. Why did I do that? Because I'm a bishop first. I'm a man of integrity. How in the world can I ask voters? How can I ask people in the city of Brooklyn and throughout the world to donate money to me if we're in a whole pandemic? There are people didn't have a Thanksgiving. There's people that didn't have a Christmas. So what I did, me and myself and my church, we purchased over 450 turkeys and gave away turkeys to the community. Now, to date, I've given away over 7,000 turkeys and did not get funded by no one. I've never got a dollar from not one politician. You see, politicians give away because they get the money from the state. Me, as a bishop, I've been given, to date, over 7,000 turkeys, over 7,000 toys. To date, all you got to do is YouTube Readers of Tomorrow or Bishop Whitehead, and you'll be able to see. So, and on Thanksgiving, we gave away over 450 turkeys. And then I left there with my team, and we went to a grocery store. We shut down the whole grocery store, unbeknown to anybody shopping. And we said, for 1 hour, y'all spend $20,000. They went up to $25,000. Myself and my team paid $25,000. Then for Christmas, I did a live. I gave away over $6,000 to $7,000 to families that didn't have food, that didn't have toys. And then we gave away additional money and toys to children for Christmas. I went on the corner of Sutter and Mother Gaston. I called the chief of police. He shut it down for me in a matter of minutes. And I've given away toys. So I could not ask anybody to donate anything to me before I continuously gave back. So now, 2021, I began to raise money. We're raising money rapidly. So how do you help? How do you get me in office? By donating, right? By donating and then voting. That's it, in that order. Donating and then voting, because we like to hold on our money. We have a goal. We want 2,000 people to give us $100 from New York City. If you're not in New York City, donate whatever you can. You can donate up to $1,500. How do you donate? My website, Lamore, LAMORM.com. That's it. And you'll be able to hit the donate button, right? And if we all spread the love, if we all team up and create something for Bishop Lamar Miller Whitehead, and raise money so we can get into office, now we can implement all these things, because this is just a good conversation. You can't execute it without being in office. And people are they don't want to be consistent. We have our first Black senator in Georgia. First Black senator in Georgia. Over 2 million people voted for him. He turned a red state into a blue state. And he's the first pastor. I'm a bishop.
Oh, Bishop, don't move. Bishop, don't move, Bishop, because I want you to stick around for a minute, because and then I'm gonna have to turn y'all loose on the principals. I'm gonna let the principals get at y'all next. But I have another guest who reached out, who I think would be great for you to say hello to. She's a councilwoman in the Bronx, Vanessa Gibson. Vanessa Gibson, you here?
I'm here. What's going on? How are you?
We're fantastic, Vanessa. Thank you for coming on. No, I spoke with Dr. Riley the other day. We said, I got a chance to be part of some of the stuff you were doing in the Bronx. I know you've done some turkey drives and things like that. I was there with my son. I got a couple of pictures with you and Jamila T. Davis and a few other people. So I know you're very, very good friends with our mayor, as well as Sean Patterson from Mount Vernon and stuff like that. But I think what's really important and powerful about you joining us today as well is because, OSG is about young people, and we're about change, and we're about ways that we can bring forth the necessary changes in our communities, not only in New York City, but we got representation from all across the country in this room right now. And one of the things that we wanted to kind of talk about was like that learning loss, the things that our kids really struggle with and what we gonna do about it. Like our kids, some don't got computers, as Bishop talked about, some don't got hotspots and a few other things. We're gonna make sure that we do that. But I just wanted to kind of give you a few minutes to just say hello to everybody, let them know who you are and things like that, what you got going on in the Bronx.
Thank you so much. Well, number one, I got a lot going on. So, I try to be short, but I love to talk. So, I'm like my pastors. You can't give me a mic, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak before all of you. Shout out to everybody, to Dr. Riley. I see you, one of my amazing principals at PS 132 in the Boogie Down Bronx. Dr. Johnson, I see you from Longwood Prep. God bless you. And everyone. I have been out on the ground every day since the pandemic hit last year. And I'm a doer. I'm a doer I don't talk about it, I am about it. And, you know, a lot of times people talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. And I appreciate everything that Bishop Whitehead has said, because it's really, really important. We have to understand that we are here for a time, a season, and a reason. We have to make sure our season is meaningful. Our children have been traumatized by COVID. Recognize that everything happened for a reason, right? Just racism for 401 years, black and brown kids on a pipeline of prison, mass incarceration, all of these things that have happened to our people. We have the highest death rate in the Bronx due to COVID. And that is a telling story which recognizes all of the deficiencies that we've been dealing with for generations. Black women and men saving democracy. Always left behind, underrepresented and underappreciated. But when it comes to saving democracy, they always expect us to come through. And we always come through. And so I feel like it's an opportunity for me. I've been in the city council in the Bronx 7 years now. I was previously a state elected official, and I've always supported my local schools. I've invested millions of dollars because I know if I don't do it, no one's going to do it. I have a lot of folks in public housing living with rats and rodents and mold and mice. It's just horrible. And our people need to be shown something different. But I also think our people, sometimes we lose hope. We lose hope that we have the opportunity to create a better tomorrow. And a lot of times we have to be our champions. We have to be the change agents of success. We have to let our young people know that despite your circumstances, you are destined for success. Your four corners of your neighborhood doesn't have to determine where you go, but you're a child of God. And we have to have more mentors, more black and brown mentors. Look at our schools sometimes. Our sisters are holding it down. We don't have enough black male teachers in our schools. And shout out to all of our educators and principals and administrators, because we do this job sometimes with all of the red tape, the bureaucracy, but we get things done. And so I'm running for Bronx Borough President this June, where there is a Democratic primary. And check this out. In the history of the Bronx, never, ever been a female borough president, never an African-American elected borough president. And so it's time for the change. It's time to get people to realize that you can see yourself in your leaders. Like Kamala Harris is the first, but she doesn't have to be the last. And we're trying to do that at a local level. So there's a lot that we are doing. And I love this space that all of you are in. And I would love to keep coming back, because I think it's important to talk about the issues. But the one thing we don't always do as Black folks, we don't have a plan. What is our plan to get things done? We know the data. We know the statistics. We know that the challenges we're facing every day because we go through this. So my question is, what are you doing to make a difference? What are you doing in your community to step up? Everyone doesn't have to be an elected official. Bishop knows there's so many things we can do in our own communities with whatever title God has given us. But at the end of the day, we are all in this together, because we either sink together or we swim together. And for far too long, our people have been denied so many opportunities. And it's like when one of us succeeds, all of us succeed. So you can tell I'm excited. I'm passionate about this work. I invest every single day. I was in my office last night till midnight doing work, and I'll be here again late tonight because the work has to be done. I'll be out in the community giving out PPE, giving out food, groceries, because you know what? The reality is, if we don't do it, who's going to do it for us, you know? And so, you know, I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you so much.
Vanessa, don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. Because I need you, because again, similar I said to Bishop, I need you to also let the people in the room know you didn't come, it came for no, it's basically Dr. Really just me and I just come through, just if anything, just to say hello, because I know you represent the schools in the Bronx too. So that's the point I want. I want us as a people to look at what's happening in front of us. Like, this isn't a display. We're talking about people who look like us that are actually running for positions that can help our young people. Like, we can't just keep looking at this as a means to say, oh, they got an agenda. You know what? If your agenda is kids, you know, Vanessa and Big Whitehead, if your agenda is kids, come on over. I ain't got no problem. I got no problem whatsoever. All the other agendas that people think y'all have, okay, that's fine with me too. But if kids are your number one agenda for me, then I'll rock with y'all hard bottom. I'm gonna tell you that right now. So I just want you to do me a favor, Vanessa, because I've been I've been Turkey Drive with you and my son and Jamila. We've been out there together. Please let everybody know that this is who you are and this is what you do, with or without a title of elected official.
Right. So I do this work because I truly believe that God has me here to do something, to serve a bigger purpose that's beyond me. I don't do this work for me. I do it for the next generation, because there are those that have come before us that have paved the way, that have led the way during great adversity and stood, through all of it, through the poll taxes, through all these efforts to suppress voters' rights. We couldn't even vote as Black women until the Civil Rights Voting Act of 1965. And so I really believe that the time is now to elect leaders not new to this, but true to this, that have been on the ground, that have a consistent record of accomplishment. We don't need people that need on-the-job training, because our children have waited far too long for leadership that looks like them. But in addition, having a plan, having the purpose, and having the passion to get this work done. Education is important. It is the pathway to the middle class. It is the pathway to success. But we also have to talk about all the other systemic issues of racism that we deal with mass incarceration and police violence and unstable housing and no jobs and no programs in our communities, where our young people, we've stood at rallies. I mean, how many Black Lives Matter rallies have we been at? With my son, with Jamila, with, Erica Ford from Life Camp out in Queens. I was just talking to Aisha Sekou from Harlem. I mean, all of these folks on the ground, they're troopers and they're doing this work. Imagine the transformation we could have as a community if we all work together, instead of cutting each other down and tearing each other down and fighting over crumbs. I want the whole meal and I want dessert. I don't want no crumbs. I want the whole thing, because other communities get far more than we do, and we have to fight. But you know what? I get it. And if I got to fight, then that's what I have to do, because I'm always going to fight for our kids. And if I have to walk to the end of the earth for a young person to get a better opportunity than me, then that's what I'll do, because it's worth it. I mean, we've seen so many things happening in our communities, and I've stood with so many parents. I've helped to pay for funerals. I've helped to move families, emergency benefits, getting them into schools. And that's what I do all the time. Getting that call from a mom, my kid is at central booking. I mean, that's what we deal with. Pastor, leaders, that's what we all deal with, right? When our kids are going through things, because it's not just education. You got to help them in all the other areas that they're facing and confronted with as well. And so, I just want to appeal to everyone out there that our work is not done. I want to encourage all of you, because sometimes as people of color and women of color, we wear everything on our shoulders. But I'm here to remind you that your work is not done, and there is a greater purpose for all of you. And do not give up on our kids. They need us now like never before. No one is perfect, but our kids need us right now, and we are the change that our communities desperately need right now in this time and era.
Just to piggyback, and man, it's a pleasure meeting you, and an honor. And you said a few names, my son and Jamila T. Davis. When Jamila first came home, I'm the one that put her in position in politics, right? She's been involved with politics. When she first came home, I knew her from back in the days with one of my best friends, Zap Judah, when he was boxing. And she came and said, Bishop, I need a little help. So what I did was, I said, all right, I got you, as long as you're going to do the right thing. And I was able, as the bishop, I had so many contacts because I helped so many leaders or politicians get into office. And I was able just to honor her for the work that she's already done with me in the community. And I took her to a lot of meetings with me. So therefore, just introducing her to politics, because she didn't understand politics. And before my son got into politics, when he was a rapper, he came to my church when I started, because I'm all about the youth. And me being a pastor, everybody that's in church, you all know we go to church for the 7 last words, right? The Good Friday, 7 last words of Jesus Christ. But me being a pastor, I changed it up a little bit. And I had the 7 last words were the preachers versus the rappers. And it was the preachers, VERSES, verses, the rappers, and the pastors would preach about Jesus, and then the rappers would rap about Jesus, and I had my song there with me. And so I've been doing this a long time, and this is why I'm ready to make, because with women like yourself, and my mom raised me, so I'm very pro-woman. I have a lot of women preachers, and this is why I started an initiative that will be implemented in the borough of Brooklyn for my wife, called the Nation of Champions. And this is for women throughout the nation, where therefore Brooklyn will be the hub for young women, domestic violence and human trafficking, women of domestic violence, just all type of women issues. I'm going to create a fund that will help women throughout our community. So I just wanted to just piggyback and just let you know that, even with Stacey Abrams, in my church in Atlanta, we just honored her for Martin Luther King's birthday. 2 weeks ago, last week, 2 weeks ago, we just honored her for Martin Luther King's birthday at my church in Atlanta. So, we're on the ground, y'all. We're on the ground. We're pushing. And, I know you got questions, right? For principals, I'm ready.
Yeah, because I think what I want the principals to do now, and it may help you, right? There's some of the things that I wanted them to touch on. Got a chance to speak to Principal Captain Kirk earlier, who she's from Atlanta. And one of the things she and I discussed was, some of the ways that she's addressing the learning loss with our young people in Atlanta. And then I'm going to ask other principals to also talk a few, maybe 3 to 5 principals talk about some of the things that they're doing to address the learning loss. And maybe you could kind of get a sense of what is happening, so that when you have that opportunity now to have to speak about what we're going to do, you ain't got to look no further, because these are the people that are doing it now. So if you don't mind, Bishop and Asia, First Lady, if you could just allow for the principals now to kind of talk to you about some of the things that they're doing by way of initiative to address the issue of learning loss for our young people. So I'll start with Principal Jamila Kirk from we call her Captain Kirk from Atlanta. Come on in, Jamila.
Don't forget about raising your hand.
Talk. Yes, everybody else, please raise your hand if you can. If you want to join in, because I definitely want for not only for Bishop but also for Vanessa Gibson also too, to kind of hear what's being done not only in New York but across the globe about how we're going to address the learning loss for our young people. So, welcome, Jamila.
Thanks, Coach. Greetings, everyone from the Atlanta, Georgia area. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Bishop. Welcome. Hi. Antoinette, hello again. I know Antoinette as well. We've crossed paths. She's actually been to my school because we were supposed to work together prior to the pandemic. So I jumped on at the end of her conversation, but she is a trooper. She is the truth, I have to tell you. Thank you again. I would be remiss if I don't start off by saying thank you to Jacko and Fee and Mr. Dennis for inviting me to this community. I've been every week since the invite. Last week we met, and in normal fashion, Dennis kind of asked me, certain questions. What's going on? How are you doing with your school? And then the question came up about how are we addressing learning loss for our students? And in typical principal fashion, I started rambling off all these different things that we're doing, partly because as a principal, you do sometimes have an added pressure of wanting to make sure that people know that you're doing something, right? We get things from our district asking, what are you doing innovatively? What are you doing? And we have conversations all the time as a leadership team and as a staff. We were doing great things prior to the pandemic, but can we really do it now? And then it's to simply say, let's without all those different things, let's narrow it down. Let's get focused. And I was like, okay. He said, what if you just met with your teachers 101 and just have a conversation to find out where your students are? Because we had data meetings, we pulled out the MAP assessments and the iReady assessments, but we hadn't had conversations about where are students truly based on our teachers, right? We want teachers to treat them as professionals. What is your professional judgment about how your students are performing and your ability to reach them? And so that's what we did. He said, can you get some done? I was like, yes. So I got all of my 3rd through 5th grade teachers done who are in testing grades, except for one. So I was determined to, make him proud, of course. And then also I wanted to see for myself, what are the teachers feeling? Because we have a benchmark coming up next month. And, he was like, let's look at how they feel compared to what the data is actually saying. So I pulled rosters for all of my 3rd through 5th grade teachers. And one of the first things that I did was met with my leadership team, because I think it's important to have the right people around the table. So in addition to myself and my assistant principal, we had our 2 coaches, we had our counselor, we had our RTI chair. Again, because, when teachers come into the room and they don't know or they're struggling, you want to make sure that everyone has a part in providing that support. And I'm a leader that I truly believe that that the people around me are smarter than me, right? And so I want them to be able to give that support. So we met. I simply just pulled rosters. We had 3 colors. We highlighted blue if they were on track. We did yellow if you had minimum concern, but quite not on track, but you might put a 60-day action plan in place. Some things that you can put in place. And then pink, we highlighted them. If they were, you had some concern, are they retention consideration? Do they need to be in RTI? And we just met with every teacher, and they just we went student by student to determine where they felt their students were. The consensus that we're having, and I'm sure I'm not the only principal, our issue has been the engagement. Getting them to simply just get online. We're having that issue with contacting parents or students who are at home by themselves and they don't have adults that are there. So a lot of our students are not passing because they're missing assignments. They're not getting them done, lack of supervision. And even for us, there's some parents who don't know. We met with a parent who says, well, I asked him to show me our Google Classroom, but he hasn't showed it to me yet. So, I can't put my template on other parents. And so we decided as a team and that we would get together and we figured out, how can we engage our students more? We have the technology. We gave out hotspots as a district. We give out meals, breakfast and lunch every single day through our buses and in front of my school. So they can come and drive by, or we can drop them off. We go door to door, even though we probably shouldn't, but we take additional technology or devices to students because we want to eliminate any barriers, any challenges. We do all those things. But the one thing we can't do is go into the home and make the students sit at the table and really work. And so the question became, well, Kirk, why do you think students aren't engaged? I said, well, think about it. When we're in the building, brick and mortar, it was an escape, just like it is for our teachers. They want to be in the building. There was escape for them. Now the things that they were typically escaping from, they're trying to learn in the middle of that environment. That's tough. And not only that, we see everything, we hear everything. So we have to lead we have to lead with compassion as well. We have to lead with grace. So one of the things that we talked about was, okay, we're going to get them engaged, because one of the things that really worked well for us, and Dennis brought up the fact that sometimes we abandon things. If we know that it worked before when we were brick and mortar, why aren't we continuing those things in virtual? So one of the things that we did, we had check-in. Every adult in my building, including custodians, who's sitting right here, including custodians, front office secretaries, everyone had a student, a scholar that they had to check in with every day, period. And so we said, why can't we do that now? Because one of the things that we found, and we did it just for attendance, those students who were not coming to school, because what we found was that those students who come to the table or have an adult that was checking in with them daily, they wanted to come to school because they wanted that attention. They just wanted someone to check on them. How are you with your grades? They'll come read with them. Mr. Watkins will take them on his spree when he's cleaning certain parts of the school. It was something just as simple as just checking in and asking them how they were doing. So we decided.
Let me jump in there real quick, Jamila.
Yeah.
Jamila, let me jump in there because I don't want us to gloss over the thing that you said that you and I discussed, which is, for the most part, principals have always had amazing strategies in place to reach young people. Yeah. Right. And I think when the pandemic hit and things went, predominantly virtual and remote, we forget that those things can also work by way of technology as well. So when you're talking about mentorship, when you're talking about everybody adopts a child and things like that, I think it's important to realize it still can be done. I mean, does it mean it's going to be easy? No, but this job wasn't meant to be easy. We're changing lives, and changing lives is a hard thing to do each and every day. So it's important that we take from what Jamila has talked about here and understand is there's no need to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
There are things that you were doing well pre-pandemic. Those are the things you need to keep doing in your school. If you were checking on your students by way of going into the classrooms, keep going in the classroom. If you were checking on families who were struggling, keep checking on families that are struggling. If you had a mentor program in your school, continue the mentor program. So I think what I was saying when I was talking to Jamila about it was, let's get back to keeping it real simple. Like, let's stop trying to reinvent something. Like, there aren't many new inventions when it comes to how great principals do things. It really isn't. All of this is an evolution. What can we do differently? How do we make what we did work when we were in brick and mortar? How do we make it work by way of technology? So I definitely want, for Bishop and for Asia to kind of hear the importance of just telling principals, keep doing what you've been doing. Let's just continue to find a way to do it virtually now. That's it.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.